All right, here we are in week 6. Nicely done, guys. We're moving right along. Remember, we have 15 weeks in this course, so you are chugging right along. All right, this week we are looking at personal communications. So, being able to communicate verbally, being able to communicate in written form, being able to text, email, etc. That's all really, really important skills. And as a technician, you certainly will not be in a bad place if you can communicate effectively, because there are a lot of technicians out there that are not very good at communicating. One of the places that we hear lots of complaints from employers is repair orders. Students can't communicate properly on repair orders, so they don't communicate their thoughts effectively. They don't communicate what they've done on that job effectively. So we're going to be continuing um, all through this course to work on communication skills. Part of what you're doing here is you're asking questions of your classmates, you're asking questions of me, you're working in discussion boards, you are writing, you're communicating through writing. So this is giving you a lot of practice on that. And as you go through the course, you're going to practice more and more on repair orders, doing jobs in the shop and filling out information as to what you did so that we can look back after the fact and have a clear understanding of what you did as a technician. And that's the key. Yes, you know what you did right now. So you've done a job. You've rotated tires. You diagnosed a wheel speed sensor. You know exactly what you did. And you may have a really good memory and remember that for a month. But will you remember it 2 years from now? Probably not. Most technicians, most people in general, aren't going to remember things that long, especially if you're talking about 30 cars a week or 40 cars a week that you're dealing with. That's a lot of vehicles. It's a lot of customers. You're not going to remember. After a while, it all blurs together. So being able to communicate effectively is really, really, really important. So tasks for this week. You can see here on my screen, we got chapter 6. We do have questions this week for chapter 6, which again are at the bottom of the page. So if you scroll down, you'll see chapter 6, personal communications. We have a test 1, so our first test. Go ahead and take that and submit it and see how you do on that. We'll have a final submission this week. This is the last one that we're going to do. Resume, cover letter, and thank you letter. So you've been working on these for the last couple of weeks. We did one submission as a rough draft. We polished it up a bit, submitted it again, and now this is our last attempt. So if you didn't do so well in the last two assignments of turning these in, make sure you really work hard to polish those up and get a really good grade on that. Discussion board, again, like most weeks, is what we're going to be looking at. For the lecture, I believe there is a chapter video for chapter 6, but let's take a peek. Yes, there is. And in here, we have some other information. Phone conversation, communications by phone, a video here, and not using too many technical abbreviations or jargon. A lot of times we'll use like PCM or ECM or TPS sensor or things like that. When we're talking to a customer, it kind of sounds like Greek, quite frankly, something they won't understand. So it's a funny little video there giving you some technical jargon talking about a transmission. So I'd highly encourage you guys to look at this material here as you're working on chapter 6. So let's look at the excuse me excuse me. Let's look at chapter 6 discussion board, or week 6 discussion board, and see what we have for this week. So the discussion board is, why is communication so important in the customer service system? So you learned in your textbook there's 3 systems that we're going to deal with in the automotive shop: customer service system, the shop production system, and the business operations system. So those are our 3 systems that we have in an automotive shop. What could result from poor communication with your customer? Think about automotive consumer protection laws. Okay, so we have to communicate with the customer some of the things that the state of Maine tells us we have to do for the customer. We have to post some things in the shop. Think about that. Think about those consumer protection laws. What are some of the ways you will have to communicate with your customer in the repair shop? And the textbook talks about examples of those. And obviously I mentioned a few in this video. So discuss that, comment back to 2 of your fellow classmates and take a peek there at that course lecture materials. And that should pretty much do it for week 6. Now, I did want to remind you guys, or to kind of take a peek forward perhaps, and start thinking about this. Week 7, I'm assigning you guys a job shadowing activity. So for week 7, you're going to go in and you're going to look at the report that you're going to have to do. That's posted there. Everything's going to be wrapped up and finalized by week 9. Actually, our week 9 discussion board, you have to talk about your job shadowing experience. So we're 3 weeks out from where you have to have this finished. So I'd highly encourage you guys to look at week 7 and start thinking about getting your scheduling done maybe this week. Next week it's due. So week 7, you have to have an appointment with a shop to do your job shadow by week 9 at the latest. So think about that. Start thinking about where you might want a job shadow. And the job shadow is going to have you basically following around a service consultant. You're going to see how their job works. So we talk a lot about how the repair order flows through the shop in the textbook. I want you to see it in person. I want you to go out and actually see this happening. So I have a report there that you're going to have to fill out. You're going to have to ask the service consultant questions. And this is a big assignment. I'm going to give you 3 test grades for this particular assignment. So the first one is schedule an appointment, which again is part of communication. You're going to have to call or you're going to have to go in person and set up an appointment to do a job shadow. It's not that difficult. I give you directions on how to go about doing that as well. If you want a template to follow, like I've never talked to a service manager, how do I do it? Well, here's a template. This is what you could potentially say. Obviously, don't read that off word for word, but put it into your own words. Right? It just gives you a helping hand. So week 7, again, you're going to be scheduling a job shadowing appointment. That can be at an independent shop, can be at a dealership. It has to be a shop that talks to customers, schedules appointments, and handles repair orders. In the past, I've had people say, well, can I do a job shadow at, a boat shop? Well, if the boat shop is busy and they're getting repair orders in and they're having to schedule with customers, depending on the time of year, that might work out just fine. But I'd really, really prefer you guys do an automotive shop because that's what you're trying to get a job in. So stick to the automotive shops. Stick to something that, again, is going to have customers flowing in and out of it, not something that's like a fleet repair shop where they're not going to deal with customers that often. So hopefully that helps you. Look at week 7, get an idea, start working on that, start thinking about that because that is coming up. You will have to have an appointment for week 7. So don't wait till the last minute because I've had that in the past. Students wait till the last minute. They call and expect the shop to have an appointment set up with them that exact day. You may have to wait a few days to hear back from them. And I always tell you guys, don't wait and wait and wait and wait, and then it's week 9 and you didn't do it because that's 3 zeros for test grades. That's a big portion of your grade in this class. So if you don't hear anything back from that particular shop you want to go to, maybe pick a different shop, call them and try an interview with them. Okay? Or not interview, I'm sorry, job shadow with them. All right, so hopefully that will get you guys started. Don't forget to get that done. And week 6 really isn't too bad of a week. Do test 1 and your Blackboard questions, and then your final submission for your resume, cover letter, and thank you letter. And don't forget your discussion board. All right, have a great week. See you again soon.